Welcome back. Now let's start the program in earnest by looking at the corruption debate. The Global Anti-Corruption Summit in London brought together world leaders across the world to agree on a package of practical steps to expose corruption so there is nowhere to hide.
Punish the perpetrators and support those affected.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My eyes are failing.
No, they're not.
So the host of the summit, Prime Minister David Cameron, has urged dozens of nations to redouble their efforts to combat corruption. So corrupt persons find safe havens for their stolen wealth, and who are those warehousing this stolen wealth? Well, to analyze this with us this morning, it's my pleasure to welcome the immediate past board chairman of the Institute for National Transformation, Mr. Tunde Akindele. Good morning.
Good morning.
And also here in the studio in Lagos with us is Mr. Chima Naji, a legal practitioner.
Good morning.
Good morning. And joining us from our studio in Abuja is an APC chieftain, Mr. Osita Okechukwu. Good morning, Mr. Okechukwu.
Good morning, viewers.
Good to have you with
viewers.
us. Uh-oh. We can hear you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes.
Now, in the background somewhere is that comment that was made by the British Prime Minister about Nigeria being fantastically corrupt. I mean, corrupt is one thing, but fantastically, he had to qualify it. And that got a lot of, talk, a lot of media space in the course of the week. So let's start with that summit that took place in London, Mr. Akindele. Do you think that that summit is going to achieve anything in this? I mean, it's now a global war against corruption, it's not just in Nigeria anymore.
Thank you very much, Alero. Corruption in itself is a global phenomenon. And we close our eyes and look at our nation as what happens within our nation is infinitesimal when you look at corruption globally. What is this corruption? It's been defined as some people who are entrusted in power. They are entrusted with the wealth of a nation. And then what do? They amass this for personal gains. I've always loved when people talk about corruption and they don't look at it at global level. The high value corruption, and I use the word highest value corruption, is by institutions, especially institutions in the wealthy nations who give bribes, and banks, financial institutions in those nations who take or who launder, who provide a system for laundered money.
Maybe that is the reason why it doesn't look to us that it's a global phenomenon. Because here, it is at every level. A gate man wants to be bribed, but you don't see that over there. Over there, it is high up.
The problem of corruption comes from over there. Let us first put our minds to it. Their institutions come here. Can I best describe this? You have two different streams. One is a huge stream with little water. The other one is a small stream with a lot of water. And now, some people from the stream with large water come to collude with the few people who are managing the water of the small stream to pipe the water of the small stream into their large water. So that resultantly, their own water gets the amassed water, and the fish of the others, the stream that should be enjoying the water, does not have water to enjoy. That is exactly the way, the analogy I can give to this. And let me tell you, I said highest value corruption comes from institutions in the wealthy nations who pay the tax, and their banks that retain the tax, and nations that retain the tax, the fallout of bribe. If you listen to Lagarde, he says 2% of the world's GDP goes on bribe. That's about 2.2 trillion. And the flow is not from them to us, it's from the
Poor
developing
countries.
nations, the poor nations. The flow goes from them to the wealthy nations. Now, I think Transparency International says about 1 trillion is involved in bribe alone, which, which is just part of corruption. Sorry, one bit, right? That goes out from these poor nations into these wealthy nations. And only 134 billion in 2012, 2013 comes as aid and grant. And they say, and now they turn to us that we are tired of them.
They're not giving us aid anymore. Mr. Naji, why do you think that developing nations are so, I mean, they're classified as developing, they're classified as poor, and yet they are involved in this bribe thing more than countries that have money?
Well, let me make a point here that labeling is a psychological tool.
Finally.
To label. If you see a gentleman walking, maybe not well dressed, you label him a madman. It sticks. So everybody will be seeing him from that kaleidoscope. And if he responds violently in protest, they say, well, this is the characteristics of madness. And those who have authority to do such things can pick him up and put him in psychiatric hospital. It's only a matter of 2, 3, 4 weeks down the line. There are full-blown manifestation of mad characteristics because he will be protesting violently. And it is consistent with what they call madness. So when they said we were third world, I think they have moved from that nomenclature, third world. They divided the world into 3 and chose the one that was first, second, and third. And we also sheepishly imbibed that without knowing the psychologically damaging effect of that labeling. Because we have had leadership that were largely cerebrally, cognitively, and intellectually diffident. If we leave that stage and come to the level of perhaps, say, developed and developing, or how did you call it?
Underdeveloped.
Underdeveloped and all that. And the flow of money. Corruptogenics are those things that encourage corruption. And they are replete in all. Corruption is not an Igbo word, it's not a Yoruba word. Neither is it Hausa. It's an English word that has a very queenly position in the dictionary. If you read it through the dictionary, and even in the legal parlance, the law dictionary also has a very copious statement about that. So that word exists, or was in existence before even the colonization of this country. We also have words for that in our own local languages. So it's an international thing. But what we are looking at is who a thief can be caught by an armed robber. Not that the armed robber is a nice guy, but he has a gun to dispossess the small thief of what he has stolen, which ordinarily he thought should have gone to his own loot. I don't know whether you're getting my drift.
Yes.
So many of those who say they are developed countries, sitting on the wealth, stolen wealth, some of which they encouraged. In fact, some countries of this world don't have agriculture. They don't have anything other than keeping people's wealth without asking about the source. I don't want to mention names, but they know themselves. Now, psychologically, it sits well with them if they continue to hold us down by saying that we are the thieves, we are the that, while they are sitting on the wealth stolen. In law, the man who gives and the person
takes.
who receives
Yes.
stolen goods are impari delicto.
But the question would be, why would you collect your minimal resources as they might be and take it to the one whom you believe has maximum
I have
resources?
used the word that our leadership have been diffident. When they are told that you have no future, the thing is that we encourage you to build your future where you think that that future is secured. So they stash away these funds. When their conscience pricks them so much, they bring a little of it and give you as loan or some grant or whatever, some kind of patrimony, and advertise it so well that the world now sees only the good things they are doing, but without looking below to see the damages that are being done, to the economies of. So if it is now that the world is awakened, because conscience is an open wound. The world is getting agitated. The flow of money is getting into some hands of people who are doing terrorism. If not for terrorism, we will not be talking about corruption. Because it benefits those who are keeping the money to develop their own countries. So it's unfortunate that this is happening, but that is the reality.
Mr. Kechuko, if I may come to you now. The president did say that he didn't want an apology from the British Prime Minister for saying what he said, but that he wanted those monies, those assets returned. And some people have actually chided the Prime Minister for saying what he did, because his country is one of the major destinations for warehousing of the stolen assets of this country. So he was not in a position to be speaking the way that he spoke. But that aside, what do you think of the president's response to the question about wanting an apology when he said he just wanted those assets returned?
For us, Mr. President's speech was highly elegant, magnificent, and statesmanlike. He demonstrated what the Nigerian people, the confidence will repose on him as the man of truth, the man who is not given to niceties of politicking. He went straight and said yes, that we were fantastically corrupt.